thanks very much for joining us here today for an introductory session around the upcoming webinar that we're running on compliance and GDPR. My name's Chris Alden. I'm the Business Sector Manager for the Cloud Division here at Arrow, and it's my pleasure to be joined by James Marshall, Technology Strategist from Microsoft. Could you talk to us a little bit about your role with the partner network and how that works?
Absolutely. So I think I have one of the best jobs at Microsoft because as a technology strategist, it's my job to work with partners, not just the likes of Arrow, but also Arrow's partners and those that wider channel of value-added resellers on figuring out how they take Microsoft's technology portfolio to market to their customers in a way that makes most sense, both in terms of the challenges that those customers are trying to overcome and also that is profitable and repeatable and scalable for those partners too. And as we're talking about on this webinar, a common topic which is coming up at the moment, particularly because of the deadline in May when GDPR comes into enforcement, is around compliance and security and how they protect customers' data using the tools that are available. And so helping those partners understand, particularly Microsoft 365, but the technologies that are also associated with it, how that helps those customers on a journey towards achieving their compliance. Not in and of themselves, but as part of a wider wraparound that those partners can build, which will help those customers get to where they need to be.
Absolutely, and I think the key takeaway here is that compliance is an element, but it's not the bigger picture. And what I'm very keen to make sure is that our partners understand that there's a huge opportunity here in the Microsoft 365 space and even in the traditional Office 365 space that hasn't yet been addressed. So if they're sitting thinking, to be honest, I'm not sure whether I can play there, I think we need to make sure that they understand that they definitely can do and there's opportunity.
Absolutely. So the market is by no means 100% sewn up by any provider. As much as I'd love to think that every single customer has Office 365, I know that's not the case. And there is still a huge opportunity out there for partners. And as you say, both in the Microsoft 365 camp and just the Office 365 camp, to go out there and help get those customers on a transformational journey.
Indeed. And I think, from my perspective also, partners who work with Arrow, they have access to the Arrow Cloud Enablement Program, which is now incredibly mature. We spent a lot of time making sure that it's absolutely tailor-made for partners at whichever stage of the journey that they're on. You mentioned there may be some partners very much at the beginning. There may be some partners that are just looking to scale the services that they offer today. For me, this webinar is a key part of a new program around compliance and around Microsoft 365 to make sure that they're able to take that message to their customers and deliver a new service.
Exactly. I think partners will see much more success with customers. They will form much longer lasting, stickier relationships with customers if they can go beyond simply deploying technology solutions to getting into that trusted advisor nirvana status where they can say, we're going to help you on things beyond simply just, say, migrating email, but to challenges that you might not think of IT as being able to help you solve. So this webinar is going to go into specifics around Microsoft 365, but there is a wider conversation that I would encourage all partners who are working with Arrow to have, to say, well, how can I learn how to have the right conversations with my customers that I can take these technologies to them in a way more consultative, way more transformational capacity than simply just selling them a license and then speaking to them again in 3 years' time.
Absolutely, and the toolkit that Microsoft 365 will provide to partners looking to deliver that is foundationally and upon which they can then look to build those bigger conversations. And I think when we get into that webinar, we want to be teaching our partners how to make use of those tools, pick which tools are appropriate first, and then take that first step on the journey. So I guess compliance-wise, there's a huge opportunity here. We're talking about taking a first step, but then there are multiple steps to take after that. And it would be good, in the webinar, we're going to go into a lot more detail, but just as a highlight for the partners who are watching today, to go through some of those core topics that we can address, which are going to help them on that first step of the journey.
Sure. So on the webinar, we'll learn about how Microsoft 365 can help partners very simply start to add value around the security and compliance conversation through some of the very basic starting points like Secure Score, which is part of Office 365, all the way through to how they can tackle wider problems like shadow IT or the leaking of information outside of a business, the protection of customer data using some of the information protection tools. And there's sort of graduation steps that you can go through. So the barrier of entry to a partner who's maybe never played in this space, maybe never had a specialism around information security or device management or data protection, there's some really easy things that they can do, but those things will whet their appetite to go and build more skills, more capabilities in those other areas, because the more they can then do, the more value they can add to their customers.
So James, what do you think partners who attend the upcoming webinar are going to take away?
I think partners who come along to this webinar are going to learn all about how they can differentiate their offering from the thousands of other partners that are out there today doing similar sorts of things. They'll learn about what Microsoft 365 has to offer, and not just from a product features and benefits perspective, but also what it has to offer in terms of how partners can build practices, repeatable solutions, and add that key value to their customers about how they can solve their productivity challenges, but also solve challenges like going on a compliance journey, how they can get towards being ready for GDPR and all of those kind of things. And crucially, I think partners will take away from this the key value that Arrow adds to this too, in terms of being able to take them on an enablement journey.
Thank you very much for joining us here today. You'll take away from the upcoming webinar much more detail, and we'll go into much more depth around the topics that we've covered. The registration link is available now, and we're looking forward to seeing you there.